The building of bridges. How many people are looking forward to another edition of Guidance for the Soul Live? It's a surprise throwback Thursday, right? No, that's what some people are doing. They're saying, I could go on at any day of the week, have 5 or 6 people who regularly watch, and then the rest of the views will start to come in once they start to hear the vision of what it's like to do the work of soul without, it's like out a guide, right? That's not what happens. When you are in the vision of love, you are connecting to the vision of all as we speak. I can do this work on the fly. That's what the majority of people say, right? Or do most people honor their hearts and say, I'm having some issues with my struggles, right? I want to talk about the nature of bridge building. And this is somewhat similar to that vision of bridging the gap between love and hate, right? Not even close. Sometimes we have to decide, where do I align myself? Do I align myself with those who respect who I am, who honor who I am, or do I honor all souls whether they respect me or not? And what does that mean? Does it mean that I take those shots to the heart, right? That's the John Bon Jovi, right? Shot through the heart. His vision was very much of a, she's going to listen to my heart again. And she did. And it's a long way back to that building a bridge to those souls that we connected to as children, often, or teens, or even adults. Some of us hold on to our love for our music for eternity, right? Okay, I get those signals of musical geniuses as well that come through and say, don't focus on just the songs, but the artist as well. Okay, so for instance, my vision of love would say, let's bridge the gap. Okay, how many people know that I had to hear horrific visions brought through, aimed not just at myself, but at those around me sometimes? And I had to break it down into an understanding of what soul building actually is. You learn who you are on other levels of understanding. That's what people will start to understand in the moment. What does it mean to be a soul builder? You're creating those visions with loved ones as we speak. So if I am in the mode of I am a healer, I would say I can do the vision of energy work. That's usually what I do for my own soul. However, I'm in that vision of Reiki as a master, correct? I never received the certification, but once you go to the vision of I connect as all, I mastered it in the moment when I went through the program and was dealt it's like the dealing of the deck, right? I know how to do tarot on the spot. That's my soul. I didn't study it. I just know how to do it. I know how to do pet mind. I can do violent instruction. So we're going to talk about the violence that I often am partaking in my mind. Okay, because sometimes that's the vision of a soul would say, we're not going to get personal. It's not what people might think. It is a outward expression of like the genealogy of the world, right? I had to do my own genealogy for a long time. And in doing so, I had to heal those visions that I brought back. Okay, I brought back a lot of destruction based on the ideas of who I am as a soul, right? I'm related to these people who did these horrible things, right? Not all of them, of course, but even so, how do we heal those visions of my family is horrific, right? Who are you related to? This was also the nature of love. I have so many people, I traced it all the way back, beyond what most people would even want to know. When you do that, you harness the strength of it if you can call on it. Okay. And in doing so, you start to understand the nature of unwinding what's acceptable and what's not for people's visions of beliefs, right? I carry the torch for my family, right? We do the honor of family. We honor our souls wherever we lie in our vision of love. Okay, sometimes it's not easy to do if we have those around us who are not in alignment with who we are. This is part of the idea of believing in ourselves and our visions. Some of us go outside of the family tree to see what's out there, right? Others will say it's the only thing you got going for you, right? How many people know I'm being offered spots for an international audience in the moment? But it's not exactly what people think. But it's a private invitation only by a certain well-known author as well. Okay, so we're not on here to talk about my bragging rights, right? That's what a lot of people do. And they will, kind of build that vision of who I am and who I'm not. But I'm here to tell you the truth about the soul embodiment videos. They're going to be stronger than what most people want to know. It can be a beautiful thing and it can be hard. Some people will indeed go through those visions of horrendous, horrendous skills, right? It's not that. You have to harness your skills in the moment. How many people know I went through this process as an INFJ mindset looking for what? Love for my heart. That's the nature of their souls. In essence, is trying to find people who understand who they are. They've been tapped in from the beginning, and now we start to see why. We aim very high in our visions for all souls. You see, it's a natural inclination to say, I feel like I'm tapped into something and I can sense the vision of all coming down to me. Then there are those who say, no, this is not about the personality traits, but you want to talk about the vision of building skills. Okay, so we can do the building of bridges. That is like a bridge to nowhere in some people's eyes. They would say, oh, you went down the path of tarot and you went down the path of here and there and whatnot. I have access to those visions as masters in essence. It depends on your vision of what a master is or isn't. Okay. Once you start to open up the nature of skill building and then you tap into the vision of all, you start to bring through the masters. That's why the authors that I envision in my mind, I never even thought I would be tapping into their visions. Oh, yeah, but that's who I get. Okay. The Native American soul that I honor is part of my line in genealogy. I can't deny that vision as love. That means that I'm not always in the vision of a certain Catholic religion, particularly. I deal with a lot of Catholics in my circle, believe it or not. And it is the struggle of a lifetime in my heart, right? Not even close. I honor it, but I've always had some questions. And then the beauty of it, I see. And then there's other faiths that come through. I'm always constantly being, called out about this faith and this faith. And, because I honor all the faiths in essence. But what happens when you're not brought up in a faith and people look at you and say there's something wrong with you, and yet you are doing the work of soul from a perspective that most people could only dream of? That's when you know you've hit the lottery. How many people say, prove it, Brenda, you know the future? I'm doing it as I speak. How many people want to hit the lottery? I did so by doing my work. I can't even imagine the strength it takes to hold the vibration of soul for as long as what I do. Okay? It's an honor to do the work for other souls. It's an honor to admit that in my mind, I don't want to become a Catholic priest in my mind. Okay? And I want people to understand when you're opening up into those visions, you have to align with your heart. And so if that means that I'm hearing from some vision of Jesus or of Christ or of Gandhi or whoever, they're all vibrating in the beauty of our hearts. And yet I still hear from those who still live, and their souls are on the line. You see, we do operate in various levels of understanding. And that understanding is what is attractive to a lot of souls. Because they're going to start to say, I know I'm very, very strong in my ideas here. What am I like on another level of understanding? Who is this soul that's coming through saying, I'm very strong in my mind. My heart's even stronger. I just didn't remember it as a child. Was I hurt as a child? That can often shut us down in our heart energy. It's the heart center. Some of us say, I was always tapped into it. I just didn't understand why I had to be there with so many people. I had to hear so many people's visions and try to unwind them as to who's who and what's what. I get multi-level visions coming at me at one time. This is an explanation. Luckily for me, I'm able to discern much of it. That's another beautiful vision for those empaths of a certain system. How do I discern what is right for me versus others? Okay. Look it up, people. Okay. The vision of discernment it's another vision for many. People will understand that vision who are familiar with the system of gene keys. But in essence, that's what a lot of people on the spiritual paths and journeys are doing. I am labeling myself X, Y, or Z. Others are told, take off the labels. I went through this path of knowing that I could do multiple perspectives all the time. That's the way that I work my work, right? I'm being told the highest of the high know how to handle the perspectives. When you do that, that's when you start getting all the different ideas coming to you. It can be a jumble. So you have to be able to sit and focus on whose vision it is that you're working with. Okay. This is to help guide those visions and into that vision of, well, maybe I can't do that work. It's not going to be the same for everybody. Okay. Most people who go down the path of enlightenment make it 2 or 3 levels before they give up. And then there's the souls that keep going. And we unwind a lot of the hatred from our own souls and our hearts, because the soul hatred can be ignored only for so long. Okay. Sometimes we have to pass the buck to another soul and say, here, you take the reins. That's the channel of the soul, right? Other times, we come on and we say, what guidance is needed in the moment? That's the vision of love. Okay, so I have a couple in my visionary mind that is of struggle in their relationship, but do I bring it forth in this, plane of understanding? Well, if I was to say their names, it would be obvious who they were. So I'm not going to in this moment. But I understand those visions are of love for my soul as I am related to them. But they're also residing on their own plane of understanding about the political arena, about the religious arenas. They're planes and realms within the dimension in essence, but it's actually not so much a realm as it is a plane of enlightenment. The moment of enlightenment was very strong for 2 or 3 people I know. They'll have that awakening moment where something happened or something was needed. For me, I never bargained for the vision of healing as in the mode of Christ or of Jesus, right? The everlasting love of hope. Okay? For my vision, I was always in the mode of light. I just surrounded people with my own vision of light. And that was a visual picture I would do in my mind. And I would surround them with this beautiful, loving, white light energy that I assumed was my own love. That's what I give to souls. When I didn't do it this week because of my own struggle, I used to acknowledge the vision of love for those souls. And then it became a nuisance. And this was talked about in another video, where when you start giving away the information of personal information, then their souls will keep coming through, and it can be a detriment to your own heart or your own mindset, most likely. Okay, so you don't want to give away a lot of information to a lot of different people, correct? Others will say, no, you pass it around and then it dissipates in its vision of, I'm only serving so many people. Okay. Now, the vision of love for the soul of love, that's another vision. Most people will assume that their vision of love is the highest and mightiest of all, until they realize that there's more and more levels of understanding that's beyond what people could understand. We're still working with a lot of the basic tools of past, in essence. When you come across a new system of development or a new parallel of understanding, which is what I created in my heart when I hit upon a certain book with a certain character as the title would be hard for us to remember, but in essence, it is a book of love about the creative process that we do as soul. It's very strong, very hard for people to grasp the information. But once you start doing practice exercises that basically say, this is how I do my life all the time, what am I doing with these visions, right? So let's talk about the nature of practice sessions. I used to do these visions called practice sessions where I would get on and practice. And this is what I want people to understand. Don't be afraid to practice doing your craft on the live wire, right? I'm live, and I still am working on the vision of love for Jesus, right? How many people know that in essence, it's not about not loving, it's about not saying that soul has to come and save me from myself, okay? That's the vision. You know, I'm not being taken into somebody else's vision, am I? I do get taken into others' visions of love sometimes, but to be honest, it's something that needs to be addressed at some point. I've yet to see the vision of a man that I always got the picture of as Jesus in any of my visions or my dreams, but I can definitely bring forth that energy. Why don't I do it more often? I don't want to reinforce the idea that people need to be saved. That's how strong it is for me in my heart. I'm not planting the seeds of victimhood in my mind, am I? That's the nature of it. Or if you're going to be saved, have your own soul as a guide. I would say, oh, you want that one on your side though, right? His vision's very high and loving and caring, and what? Does he still vibrate in the vision of a man? As a male? Or has that soul transcended itself and decided to create other visions along the way? You start to open up more when you're in the vision of religion to a certain point, and then it usually stops because most people are still in that vision of, I just want to make it to heaven or to Jesus, and I want to be able to be free and clear when I go to the next level of understanding. He will vibrate in your vision, give you the wisdom that you seek, and look into your heart and say, is she pure? How many people assume people have agendas when they do these words of wisdom? When I come on with a quote, or I come on the screen, right? It's to honor the visions of love for my family trees who are honoring of me, or to the family that I claim for those who are actually watching whenever they watch. Does it mean that I honor the threats of destruction that I sometimes bring through? That's another video I'm going to be posting a link to at some point for people to understand that your souls operate on so many levels of understanding at some point that you want to pick carefully which ones you vibrate in. Now, people are going to assume that me hearing vibrational equivalents of destruction is a bad thing. If I'm here to lay out it's like to lay out the lines of freedom for us, that's what that vision does. It's basically saying, let's free ourselves from the mindset that we're doing everything correct in this world, right? It's all there, but can we make it better? See, that's the thing. It's not about bad or good. Others will say different, especially if it's a personal session. We're not going to dishonor those visions saying this was bad, so many people died. But there's more understanding about what happens and why. And that outer region of the brain that people access when they bow their heads and pray, that's part of that vision of which access point in your brain are you looking into. That's the nature of my soul. I know when I'm hitting those high notes. I feel the energy in my mind being adjusted. My body and my mind are all there, creating beautiful places of love for my heart and soul. I already vibrate in 10 or 20 dimensions. That's how badass I am, right? We're all in these visions together. Depending on how we live our lives, what we're opened up to, what we accept as beauty, what do we accept as love? Do we accept the religion of Islam? I could vibrate in that vision and say I can bring through their visions for them. Okay. Do I have any hatred for other souls? Not exactly. I have struggles with one or two souls. 10 to 20 people are going to open up to that nature of I operate on more than one, right? If you're in the vibration of a multidimensional soul self, you're going to want to limit that to 10 to 20. Don't go for 15, right? No. Okay. There's no limit to what people can do. But does it mean that you're then spending all your time looking for these other views of love? So when you harness your own soul, they'll start to hone you in on those paths and those realms that are best fit for you. And it may not be what your family tree thinks is the best thing. Okay? And some of us are naturally drawn to our soul's journeys. And some of us are just more in the, I'm in the moment. And everyone says, just be in the moment. However, for my vision, I'm always there going, what's the best outcome for everyone involved, if at all possible? I've always been in the mindset of let me make, amends to the people around me. Let me honor their visions and let me try and make the best path for us as a group not only here in this vision, but on other realms, right? What are those other realms that people are so worried about? You see, Brenda knows she's seen stuff where people are saying, oh, this is bad, this one's bad, this one's bad, or this is scary, or whatnot. It depends on what you align with. If you're in the vision of, I'm a loving, caring soul, I don't have to worry about my vision. I vibrate with those who understand that. I also vibrate with those who are accepting of others. Okay, now I have a harder time, and some people will notice that in some of the videos where you're going to say, well, that doesn't sound like it's accepting. Accepting doesn't mean I have to like it. And if something is coming at me in the moment from somebody, that can be a destructive vision, right? How many people want to hear the tragedy of their family trees that keep being brought to them over and over and over? And you're like, what's going on? That's the healing modality for me. My family are all in this vibration of prayer. I never was. I would say it every once in a blue moon for whatever reason, but it was more of a basic, hey, dear God, you know. But for me, my vision was I always go out and I do the work. And I'm like, what's going on and how can I help? Is there anything I can do to help? That's the soul servant, right? How can I help you? And others were getting mad about that vision because she was like, I'm taking too much time to get to the nitty-gritty of why I'm here. I want to honor those visions of love for the religious souls. I want to honor the visions of those who are struggled in their mindsets or in their vibration of their bodies. I hear the beautiful songs of love on the radio for certain people. I want to honor those visions for you. Joy to the world, right? We're coming out of pandemic, right? That's a beautiful vision. It's not exactly true. We're not there yet, but we can be in our hearts. Let's just enjoy the visions of all of us who are feeling the relief and joy to be able to do some of those basic things that we were no longer able to do. Okay? Let's celebrate in the joy of life. Let's celebrate in the joy of reuniting with our family trees or our loved ones or our friends. And let's celebrate in the light. It's the light. Those are the people who come through strong and with words that can sound like anger. It's light energy coming through when someone needs to wake up out of the vision of I'm all that, right? That's what it can feel like when you imbibe upon the vision of your own soul or of other souls, right? Depending on your vision and where you are. When I go to the vision of, oh, I'm in my state of beauty, there's no taking me down. And that's what it's like. And people get mad because they're like, well, you shouldn't be feeling good when others are feeling bad. I had to deal with that. I went through one of the hardest weeks for me on a personal level in my mind, last week, praying, right? I couldn't even garner the strength to pray, much less heal my own soul, because that's where I was healing my own soul. So those who say we just have it all made and everything is beautiful and gorgeous and whatnot, when you go to the path of soul, it's a struggle for some of us, especially if we have other obligations or relationships that are in struggle. And think about those relationships that are required of us, right? I cannot leave this relationship for X, Y, or Z, right? I'm obligated to do my job for X, Y, and Z. Sometimes we don't have those other options. And then we would say, let's make the best of it. I have to make the best of my vision, my life, and my service to the community at large. If that means that political parties are going to be upset one day and then the next, so be it. We're having problems still on a political level. But because of the pandemic and because of the nature of the freedom that we're starting to experience, people are going to start to go, let's open up those visions of love. Archangels are a beautiful expression for those who are still watching and who would like to hear a prayer from that vision. The vision of an archangel, while deemed less than in certain faiths than others, we would say, as a visionary of love, I will honor your heart. The Michael energy has always been deemed of love for healing and for the vision of strength that they offer up for our loved ones who are in pain and turmoil in their light. Because you are of light, all souls. Whether you believe in your visions of love or not, it is deemed to be of soul. I guide you to the blessings of love for all souls. I guide you to the blessings of love for your family, your friends, and your hearts. You will rise in your vibration as you speak the words of love from my soul to yours. So you see, in essence, finally, I get a chance to say my prayers of love for my trees. All souls cry when I cry. You see, that's the nature of hitting that mark. Okay? I don't cry for the angels of, it's like in the waiting. Okay? We're in that vision of I'm waiting for that vision to come to me. I miss my love for my soul. That's what some of us will say. You can feel like you're disconnecting. Tarantulas were one of those visions that were brought to her heart as an anger energy when she was angry. And in her vision, she said, I will turn that vision into a solution-based soul. I don't have to be angry to get my message across. I just have to be gentle and loving and kind and say the words that open people's visions to the nature of who I am and how I look when I say the words of messengers from above, right? It's not above. I come from within. And that's the view of love for all souls. We vibrate in the vision of all. Our energies do collide in certain scenarios or certain areas of life. But in essence, the beauty is always within our soul. I can take you to that place of love for your own family tree. Hark, the herald, right? It's hard to disengage from religion, and that's where a lot of people are. And that's the nature of many who say, yeah, I'm not in that vision anymore. So why do I keep hearing it? Does it make me angry to hear that my family tree thinks I need to go to church more often? Or is it more about my own wisdom? Maybe it's the place of love that you'll find yourself mourning the angel energy. You hear angels speak to you in the mind. You go into the vision of a church, right? I carry them in my heart. I don't walk with just one soul, right? My soul is aligned with so many souls because of who I called out to in my, well, I wasn't even troubled. So we would say, for those of you who are looking to build bridges, think about those souls that are just within your grasp, first of all. But be open to the nature that others are calling out to other souls who have their own strengths and weaknesses in their visions as well. You see, for me, I have different friends who I call upon for different visions. Let's put it that way, right? So how many people know about that vision? Would you call out to Jesus for the healing energy, or would you call out to the angel energy? Archangel Michael is of strength in so many realms. His vision is, I am the strength of soul. I know how to do that work. And his vision was very much of a enlightened being coming to our hearts and saying, do not deny me my beauty. I do know how to reach her heart. So she's being sent the guidance to another loving, caring soul who vibrates in the vibration of Michael. Archangel Michael would say, it's time for us to adjourn this journey into the bridging of our souls, right? It's about allowing the visions to come through that need to come through. So journeying into the vision of love is often where we have fun. So in essence, most of these visions are a little serious, but some of them can be very enlightening and others can be very fun. And it's been a while since I've been able to do one of those more joyous kind of visions where I look in the mirror, right? When I look in the mirror, do I feel beautiful in my vibration or do I feel struggled? I used to feel struggled and hear the visions of those who called out to me in terror. If you are in terror of an angel energy, right? Some will say there was a fallen angel. Don't create with those visions, people. I get told all kinds of stuff. I am not a fallen angel. I'm not any of those souls that take on the anger of others, right? I have to transmute it for a lot of people. I bring it in. I work with it. I use my tools and I set it free. Now, I want to say thank you for your vision, for your wisdom, and for your guidance. This was just a little impromptu guidance for the soul. It's like basically because of the struggle that I was in 1 week's time, I turned around my whole life. That's the nature of who I am. I'm back and I'm ready to start. So hold on to your hats and glasses. We're going to have a good time, right? Honoring the hearts and minds of all souls, I would say, thank you so much for your beauty. Thank you for your love and thank you for your guidance. You're all beautiful in who you are, where you are in the moment. If you find yourself needing a session, please feel free to contact me at my website and have a great and blessed evening. Good night.